What's up everybody, AJ from Knights of the Apex here. Super stoked for today's video. Going to be doing a overview of the new PSE Unite. There hasn't been a lot of videos on this bow out yet, and I think they're just starting to trickle in more frequently into shops, so wanted to get a video out. Let's get into it. I just got back from the range. I was at my local shop, Adventures Archery, shooting this bow and getting a new tape dialed. Dialed Archery has a new tape builder program, so I was just messing with that. So make sure you like and subscribe if you haven't already. I'm going to be doing that as well as the Fortis review as well. I should drink more coffee. Like, this is going to be a mess. So let's get into it. Now, I talked about this setup a bit on my Total Archery Challenge gear list video. So this is my personal PSE Unite. I did receive this after the Fortis, so I took a couple of inputs from my experience with the Fortis, and that went into my decision with what I went with on the Unite, and I'll get into that as we walk through the bow. Let's start with the accessories. I'll have the specs to this bow down in the description, as well as some affiliate links. Going through the Unite, so I always get a lot of questions about this quiver every time I post a photo or video. So this is Dudley's new knock-on Checkmate quiver. It is a 5-arrow quiver. I only have 4 in there right now. It is quick detach, so there's a little dovetail that this goes into right here. It is adjustable, so you can move this close in tighter or further from the bow. You can also move it up and down. It is a carbon blade style quiver, and it does come with this additional gripper, which is really freaking cool. I talked about this in my Total Archery Challenge video, but I wanted to go over it again. Having run the Checkmate quiver for the last couple of months, I really love this thing. It's quiet, there's no vibration. Some of the other quivers I've run in the past, you know, even expensive ones, the hood wouldn't retain certain broadheads well. The quivers seem to actually add vibration to the system. None of that happens with the Checkmate, and it has that unique little arrow gripper, which is super useful if you are going to choose to run a pick rail sight. This is something that I haven't heard too many people talk about. Most quivers mount to the sights, right? So if you are running a quiver that typically mounts to your sight, well, you no longer have that option. So you have to mount it directly to the riser. If you do that, it's going to pull the quiver in too tight to the bow, and your bow is not going to be able to operate, right? Either it's going to encounter the cable guide or the limbs, and that goes for most bows on the market. So what you have to do, and what I've done, is just get a couple of little washers, right? And make sure you have long enough screws, and then when you screw it into the riser, it'll give you enough clearance so you can, ooh, what is wrong with me today? But if you use a couple of washers, it'll give you enough clearance so you can actually run the bow with the quiver on there, even with it mounted directly to the riser. And it'll really, at that point, it'll be as sucked into the bow as it possibly can. As far as pick rails go, super stoked to see PSE introduce that this year. I do believe that it is a superior mounting option to dovetails. I can say without a doubt that I've removed my sights. I've actually been going back and forth with this dialed Arxo sight between this bow and the Fortis, just moving it back and forth, and it retains zero, significantly better, with almost no POI shift coming on and off the pick rail. I can't say that for dovetails. Aesthetically, I don't think it's as clean looking, but I'll take the functionality of the pick system over the dovetail. So super stoked to see PSE introduce that. I also like what Dudley did. He offset the pick rail so that it's not perfectly in line with the middle of the riser. The reason why he did that was to clean up the sight picture, which I do notice a difference. The Unite has that pick rail offset slightly, whereas the Fortis has it set directly in the middle of the riser. And some of the Arxos and some of the other pick sights on the market, you will get a little protrusion of the mount into your sight picture, which you don't get with the Unite. I am running a Hamskea primer arrow rest. This is a limb driven rest. I do have it it tied off to the yoke splitter. This is not the best option for tying off a limb-driven rest, if I'm being honest with you. Reason being, cables have just a bit of vibration after the shot. So I do notice more vibration after the shot having my rest set up this way than if I had it tied to the limb directly, or like on the Fortis, I have a QAD style rest. There's definitely less vibration running it that way. So why do I have it tied into the center? Well, it's just a little bit cleaner. The vibration is still very minimal. I mean, this is an extremely dead in the hand bow, super quiet, even at 76 pounds, which is what I have this set to right now. Super quiet, very forgiving, very dead in the hand. So I'm willing to eat that a little bit because honestly, aesthetics for the gram. Moving down, I guess more knock-on theme, I am running the UltraView knock-on collaborative grip that they came out with for PSE bows last year. This is honestly my one critique of this bow, that I wish that Dudley would have went with the new grip that PSE came out with on all of their other aluminum bows. You'll see it on the Fortis behind me. I really like that new grip. That being said, I shoot the knock-on grip really well. So as much as I think that, you know, that grip may look better and it feels a little better, it doesn't impact my performance at all, but just something that I would like to see maybe in the future. Dudley didn't include a lower stabilizer mount. So unlike the other PSEs, other than the carbons, right, all the aluminum models typically have a lower stabilizer mount, just like the Fortis behind me. The Unite does not. I asked Dudley about that, and he said honestly his reason for not having a lower stabilizer mount is he simply doesn't like running all of his weight that low, and that's all it comes down to. So I mean, at the end of the day, it is a knock-on series bow, his call. Having run the bow like this, I will say I don't miss having the lower stabilizer mount. I do have just the slight, this is a Quattro QD, I believe this is a 7-degree offset on that front stabilizer, and this bow balances extremely well. I'm running a 12-inch Quattro, this is the Coda and Quattro collaboration stabilizer that we came out with a couple of months ago. These were limited edition, so if you didn't get one, I'm sorry. Maybe we'll do another release in the future. On the front, I just have a 1 ounce weight. This is also from Quattro, and I took the vibration dampener off of the Fortis and just put it on the end of the stabilizer. On the back, I'm running again Quattro Vero back bar mount with an 8-inch bar and 5 inches of weight on the back, with just a slight offset on there, and this bow just balances extremely well. Feels really good and stable in the hand, and this is without a doubt the smoothest PSE that I've owned. The bows get better and better every year, but this year was definitely a big jump in my opinion. And looking at the spec sheet, the specs didn't really change, but feature wise and the updates to the tech that they put into the bows, you definitely notice it shooting these bows. A lot of that, the reason the new bows feel so smooth is, well, personally, I went with their EC2 Cam, which mirrors the Evolve geometry. I was super happy to see the Evolve Cam geometry come back with slight updates. It does have a wider stance now to take advantage of the wider limb pockets that the last few years of bows have had. Now, it's not to take away from the S2 and E2 cams that you can still get. Those cams are without a doubt more efficient, but they are a little bit more aggressive. This year, I did go with the less aggressive cam, going with the EC2 Cam, but I upped the poundage. So, like I said, I got the Fortis in first. That bow was 70 pounds. I'll talk more about why I went into 70 pounds when I do that, why I chose 70 pounds for that bow when I do the overview of that bow. But shooting that bow, I just found that the EC2 Cam was so forgiving. I mean, honestly, at 70 pounds, it felt like a 60-pound bow. So when it came time to order the Unite, I felt comfortable bumping up to 80 pounds, which is heavier than what I would normally shoot, but the cam was just so smooth. And now, I mean, I'm shooting this bow at 76 pounds, and it feels smoother than most bows do at 70 pounds. So I'm glad that I went with that. As far as speed-wise goes, you know, definitely being that this has so many draw length options, I think the EC2 and the Unite goes all the way from like something crazy like 26 to 30 and a half or something like that. I'll put the specs in the caption. 76 pounds pushing pushing a 485 grain arrow. I'm getting right around 291, 292 feet per second. So nothing crazy, but still plenty fast. And honestly, that 290 foot per second range, 290 to 300, that's my personal sweet spot. The cams definitely aid a lot in the smoothness of this bow, but even talking to guys that are still running the S2 or E2 cams, the bows for this year are smoother, and I think a lot of that has to do with the new spacer system that PSE introduced this year. This new EC2 spacer system has definitely improved the stability and the smoothness of the cams and the draw cycle, simply because in the past, right, you had PSE was running E-clips and multiple shims, which I've been a big critic of. I know a lot of other people have, but all of those shims just stacked on top of each other, that's a lot of moving parts, that's a lot of variables. I know some shooters, I know I had this with some bows, if you got some dust or moisture or anything in there, sometimes the bow would develop a squeak. It wasn't anything performance-wise that impacted the performance, but it was annoying. None of that with the new spacer system. Definitely having a one-piece shim in there stiffens everything up, just makes it more consistent, less variables, and it's so much easier to tune and work with than the previous systems. When you get these bows from a shop, you're probably not going to just get the spacers. You're going to have to ask them for the spacer and shim kit if you want to work on it yourselves, but super easy to do. They come with a tool. You pop the bow in a press, put a little pressure on there just to take some pressure off of it, off of the axles, and then with the tool you can just pop the shims out. Or spacers, I should say. The spacers, the replacement spacers, they come in packages. Each spacer has a different number, and those numbers add up to 220. So as long as you're using two spacers that add up to 220, you're using a correct combination. I did find with this bow, I know Dudley has talked about this in several of his videos, but I did find that just like he talked about, that this bow tuned with everything running right up the middle. So what do I mean by that? If I were to knock an arrow and you were to look over the top of it, a knocked arrow is running directly in line with my cams and my limb bolts all the way down to the tip of the arrow. So I did find that this bow, again, super easy to tune up. Can't say enough about it. I get why Dudley went with this size bow. You know, Dudley's whole thing is making products and making training and educational materials that are going to work for 99% of shooters, and 32-inch axle to axle is honestly that perfect do-it-all size for most people. I've said countless times that the Omen was my favorite bow of all time, and that still stands. I love that bow. I was sad to see it go, and I'm super psyched for the updates that they introduced. They did carry over all of the 23 updates to all the new Omens coming off the line. But that being said, 33 inches axle to axle, even though it's only about an inch larger than this bow, it does just feel a little bit more unwieldy going through the woods, setting up in ground blinds, you know, setting up saddles, pulling the thing up a tree. For me, 32 inches axle to axle is really that sweet spot. There's even plenty of situations where I'll prefer having a smaller bow, like the 30-inch bow, but for, like, you know, most of the hunting that I'm going to be doing, total archery challenge, just having fun, 32 inches is just that perfect spot. But yeah, that about covers the Unite. Hope you guys enjoyed this, and I'll definitely be running this a lot over the next couple of months. So if you guys are going to be in the Colorado Total Archery Challenge, I'll be there. Definitely come say hi. Appreciate all you guys watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Thanks.